Hello, and welcome back to our life beginnings and noise. We're back. I'm back as promised. And we are going to do the talks moment. But first things first, I'm going to get some water, and I'll come back and get started for you guys. Alright, I'm back. Okay. Load it. Grab my keyboard. Another placid summer day was drifting by. Your daydreams were chasing each other, none sticking around long enough to become a firm plan. But you really didn't mind that right now. Why isn't it changing? Okay. Tapping worked its way into those dreams. Focusing more, you realized it was coming from your window. A grin popped on your face as though it had been waiting all day for this moment. Damn. Heading to the window, you could see Cove outside. His habit of climbing this way really was true Coveism. He'd rather scale your house than wait the couple extra minutes for you to come down. You held it out a hand to him. You offered Cove a hand to help him. Once he was mostly inside, he took it to help study the last bit of his entrance. Though considering how many times he'd done this, he hardly needed the help.
Hey.
Hey, Chippy, says Cove. Sup? Welcome home, I exclaimed. You think my mom's should invest in some bigger windows? I asked. Cove laughed at what took one last look at his exclusive entrance. He hummed with a teasing look on his face. It'd make my life easier, that's for sure, says Cove. Cove's voice came out quietly with a strangely pleased smile on his face. Did something happen? I asked. Cove opened his mouth to answer, only to have your phone ringing cut him off. You both turned to where it rested a little further up on your bed. It was still face down, so you couldn't tell who was calling. It's okay, says Cove. Your attention shot back to Cove. He smiled at you awkwardly.
Don't worry about it.
Go check. It could be important. I'll wait, says Cove. Sorry about that. Trying to get comfortable. Okay. Thanks, I exclaimed. You shuffled forward and scooped the little noisemaker into your hand. You flipped it over and checked the caller ID. It's Miranda. Oh? You should answer it. I want to say hi too, says Cove. With a nod, you accepted the call and set it to speaker. Hi, Miranda, I exclaimed. Hi, says Miranda. There was something off about her tone. Cove met your gaze and you saw the same confusion in his expression.
Have you heard from Terry?
Have you heard from Terry at all? Or did you hear about her from Cove? Asked Miranda. Huh? No one hasn't called me, but Cove is with me right now, I exclaimed. Hey, says Cove. Oh, hi, Cove, says Miranda. Is that what you were going to say? I asked. He shook his head no before realizing that it wasn't good enough answer when one person couldn't actually see it.
No.
No, Terry hasn't called me today either. Is something wrong? Cove asked. At that, Miranda couldn't hold herself together any longer. The muffled sobs from the other side of the line were unmistakable. Terry doesn't like me anymore, if she ever did, says Miranda. What? I asked. That That doesn't sound right. You're probably her best friend out of all of us, says Cove. Yeah. Why do you think that? I ask. She sniffled, and there was a pause as you could hear her shift the phone to her other hand. Terry was here the other night watching movies with me. We were up super late. She realized her parents probably went to bed, so they couldn't pick her up, says Miranda. My mom and Dad were definitely asleep then. Dad works early. I tried telling her it was okay to just spend the night, and she could text her parents what happened, but Terry really didn't want to. You glanced at Cove. He looked equally unsure as you about where this story was going. It didn't sound like a friendship ending situation. I suggested things to make it easier if she was nervous, like she could sleep by herself in my room while I stayed somewhere else, says Miranda. Yeah, I exclaimed. And I said we didn't have to sleep at all. We could keep watching movies until one of our parents woke up. I wouldn't have minded, says Miranda. I know not everyone can do sleepovers, but Terry wouldn't even tell me what was really wrong or what I could do to help, said Miranda. I thought we could tell each other anything. I guess I was wrong, says Miranda. Did she stay in the inn? Asked Cove.
No.
We got too loud in the kitchen and my dad woke up. He offered to drive her home when he heard what was wrong, says Miranda. She texted me apologizing for my dad having to do that when he needed rest. But that was it. She isn't talking to me anymore, says Miranda. You could hear every bit of the tears and heartbreak in Miranda's voice. This continued to shock your neighbor, but Cove recovered and spoke gently. I'm really sorry, says Cove.
I mean...
There's no way Terry wanted to make you feel this bad, or that she's just done with your friendship because of this, says Cove. Miranda's sniffing continued. You hoped she had plenty of tissues handy. Okay. It'll be okay. It had to be. You couldn't imagine any alternative. Miranda's voice sounded a little bit more collected after finishing her story, but you knew that the crying was far from being done. I thought she'd have reached out to one of you by now. Maybe she's not talking to anyone, says Miranda. Yeah, says Cove. Sorry for bothering you and Cove about this, says Miranda. Apology accepted. Don't worry about it, I exclaimed.
Right.
Right. You can tell us things, says Cove. Thank you, says Miranda. Her shaking voice finally conveyed a little optimism, or at least relief that she wasn't dealing with it entirely on her own.
Is that all right?
If you do hear from her or anything, could you let me know if she's alright? Asked Miranda. We can, I exclaimed. Thanks. Let's talk later, okay? Bye, says Miranda. Bye, says Cove. Bye, I exclaimed. That didn't really seem like an especially productive point to end the call, though you also weren't sure where to go from there. Looking to Cove, his face seemed as lost as yours. With no alternative, you hung up and put your phone back on your bed. Cove crossed his arms, a frown creasing his face. He began to pace the length of your room, clearly trying to put the pieces together in his head in a way that made sense. I'm gonna go with the first one. You worried? I ask. Biting the inside of your cheek, you stared at the ground, hearing Miranda so distraught, like that was not easy. And what about Terry? The uncertainty was tearing you up. The empty state of your head before learning this was not helping you now. You couldn't put two thoughts together. And flopping back on your bed, you stared into space. We should probably try calling Terry, says Cove. Cove's voice managed to drag you back to some grounding. He'd stopped pacing, but you still saw a protruded look on his face. Yeah, I'm worried about her too, I exclaimed. You bounced up and moved to his side, ready to act on whether plan you two could come up with. Cove started with the easiest thing. He put out his phone and called Terry. Cove let it ring and ring, and ring and ring and ring. Terry didn't answer. There wasn't even an option to leave a voice message. Your shoulders slumped, and Cove looked even more troubled, if that was possible. He turned to you as if for some lifeline. You could try calling. I'm gonna send a text, just like, "Hey, I was trying to reach you. Call me," or something, says Cove. "Yeah," I exclaimed. You took up your phone once more. Unfortunately, after another set of interminable rings, the line went dead. No answer, no voicemail. Hanging up, you saw Cove visibly deflate. He rubbed his arm, eyes distant, openly struggling with the whole affair. I don't like this at all. They're fighting. We barely know anything. And we're supposed to just wait and see? Asked Cove. Despite it only being a minute since he texted Terry, Cove checked his phone again. He was desperate for progress, for something, and you frowned as you watched him. Oh, excuse me. They're gonna get over it, you know, I say. Cove stared hard at the screen as though he was trying to will a new message to appear. Will a new message to appear. As your words sunk in, he harshly stared at you, not impressed with that response. I'm gonna go back and just do the first one. You try to relax. Is it the same? Just a little bit. Come on, you're working yourself up, I exclaimed. Closing his eyes, he took a deep breath and released it slowly. It wasn't much, but you could see him ease up slightly. Yeah, you're probably right, says Cove. Cove was still gripping his phone with both hands, though. It might fly away if he let it go. He looked to you with utmost painful earnestness.
Well,
What do we say if we do hear from one of them? Asked Cove. His pacing resumed as he attempted to answer his own question. We should probably tell them to talk to each other instead of us, maybe. asked Cove. He slowly came to another halt, like a gear winding down. Okay. I'm gonna go with this one. Yeah. We should only tell them to work it out between themselves. That's it. For a split second, he looked at you in surprise, but it was gone just as quickly. Instead, he glowered at you, then turned away, as though the sight of you was offensive to him. Is something wrong, I ask? You could feel your heart sinking in your chest. When he spoke, his words were quiet, but stuck like they were fired from a cannon.
Fine.
I'm fine, says Cove. For several minutes, you both remained in silence, drawn into your thoughts. Eventually, Cove turned around. I'm gonna text Terry that we already know what's going on. Maybe she'll have an easier time talking to us because she won't have to pretend or explain, says Cove. Yeah, that might be the only way to get her attention. With the two of you on the same page, he sealed his gaze to prepare for taking his next step. Cole's fingers worked fiercely, yet carefully. He was giving his full attention to his words. He stood up next to him and looked, trying to watch what he was writing. Cove rapidly typed out, "Hey, Chippy and I really want to talk to you. Miranda told us what happened. Please reply back." And sent. It was done. Well, just have to see what happens now, says Cove. I really hope she gets back to us soon. Me too, says Cove. From just his face, you could tell that wasn't going to do much for him. He was going to be stuck thinking about this until Terry replied. That was something else you had in common. A small noise escaped his lips. All of the frustration at the situation crumbled away from his face, and he spoke softly. Thanks, Chippy. I'm glad it's not just me with all this happening, says Cove. Cove took one last look at his phone, then put it away. His effort at a smile was meager but earnest.
It's okay.
We can just forget about it for a while. Terry will talk to us when she wants to, says Cove. That sounds good to me. And he meant it. Accelerating some of your own concern away. The last thing you wanted was to fight with Cove. The silence stretched on in what felt like hours, but it likely wasn't that long before there was a knock on your bedroom door, and Mom peeked in. Just wanted to check on you. Oh, Cove, when did you get here? Asked Mom. When she saw your morose expressions, she opened the door all the way and the question was dropped. Mom was standing there as well. She slipped past her wife to come inside your space.
Everything okay?
What's with the long faces? Are you both okay? Asked Mom. We're okay, I exclaimed. Your body language could not have contradicted you more strongly, and you knew it. You couldn't even lift your eyes off the floor, as though the weight of your worry was dragging your head down. Miranda called earlier. She and Terry are fighting, but none of us know what's going on with Terry, I exclaimed. Your parents exchanged a meaningful look, though its meaning was lost on you.
I am so sorry.
I'm so sorry to hear there's trouble with your friends, sweetie. Is there anything we can do to help, asked Mom. Out of the corner of your eye, you saw Cove rub his arm awkwardly, unable to add anything. No, we're just waiting to see if Terry calls or texts. If Miranda does, I exclaimed. Well, we can at least help. take your mind off things while you're waiting, says Mom.
Yeah.
Another great idea, Lonnie. We can get the whole gang together for some quality time, says Mom. Mom gave you a soft smile and added, "This will be good, especially since it might help make up for what happened at the farmer's market," says Mom. "Yes, it'll be wonderful. I'll go see what Liz is up to right now," says Mom. Excited, she fluttered a few steps away, then stopped. She pivoted on her heels and raised a single finger, flashing a big smile at Cove.
It's no trouble.
"And of course Cliff will be welcome too," says Mom. Knowing your family was always there for you, that you could be underestimated. In fact, it meant everything to you that your moms cared so much. "Thanks, Mom," I exclaimed. "Yeah, thanks. That's nice of you," says Cove.
You're welcome.
You're both welcome," says Mom. "Don't sweat it. Not so, kiddos. Leave things to us," says Mom. "Just relax and we'll call you when it's all together," says Mom. You nodded and your moms disappeared for now, springing into action for their impromptu get-together. You flopped down on your bed, feeling like you could sink into it and disappear. Cove, meanwhile, took a spot on a chair off to the side. Excuse me. You sighed at the same time, and Cove's mouth pulled into a bent smile at that. He gave his phone another quick check, and his eyebrows furrowed. "Still nothing?" I asked. "Yep, it's crap." "Huh?" Cove asked. "Yep," I exclaimed. Cove chewed the inside of his cheek as if to mimic the stress that was clearly eating away at him. "Cove, what's wrong? What's really wrong? One disagreement doesn't make you act like this," I exclaimed. That got a pointed pause in his movement. Cove was carefully trying to put his thoughts together. He spoke in a fragile voice. When people you care about, when they're unhappy with each other, there's nothing you can do. At least when you're in a fight yourself. You have some responsibility, some control over it all, says Cove. "I wish," says Cove.
So,
"I wish it didn't have to happen, but that is impossible, so, oh well, I guess," says Cove. His attempt at giving a nonchalant shrug after that was pitiable. Oh, screw you. Can't stop yawning. True, but you're right. It can't be helped.
I know.
Exclaim. I know, says Cove. He replied like he could barely muster strength to speak. Well, we just have to focus on things we can't impact. Or at least try, I exclaimed. You turned to Cove, hoping your eyes conveyed the message. You were feeling better than your words. His gentle nod told you that they did. There was a question you had to ask. Is it because of what happened with your parents? I asked. Cove ran a hand through his hair, strand smile spreading across his lips for him. This pain struck close to his heart. Just as quickly as it come, his smile was gone, lost amongst his faraway gaze. Yeah, you got it. It's like my parents, says Cove. Despite knowing him so for many years, Cove had never spoken of the years before he moved to Sunset Bird, before his parents separated, in any detail. He whispered his thoughts distantly, almost unconcerned with whether you could hear them or not.
That's...
They used to fight all the time, says Cove. I think they got along when I was a baby. I mean, they had to have wanted to be with each other at some point, but when I was old enough to remember anything, it was already bad, says Cove. There was always something wrong, and I could never help. I just wanted them to be happy, says Cove. Excuse me. You tried to imagine your mom's breaking up, and the very idea scared you. But Cove had endured that for real. I'm sorry, says Chippy. I'm sorry, exclaimed Chippy, says Cove.
Don't worry about it.
It's okay, says Cove. Despite the revelation, Cove gazed reassuringly at you. It's not like that anymore. Things are so different now. I don't even really think about it, says Cove. Again, the sorrow reassured itself. When he continued, you could barely hear him. Though I guess it's pretty obvious. I haven't forgotten either, says Cove. You kissed him. You crossed the room, picked up a little bit of speed, and Cove's eyes widened. He shot out of the chair and stood waiting for you with a non-paused look. When you collided into him, wrapping your arms around his neck and covering his mouth with yours, all mystery was gone. Cove squeaked against your lips. But the situation stuck fully. He responded in return. Cove used his hands to grip the back of your head. He pulled you in tighter, buoying you up further. After a beat parting to get some air into your lungs, he kissed you again, longingly, without hesitation. You both needed to comfort and closeness for just a little bit longer. When he finally did stop the kiss, he kept hold of your hand. The two of you took a seat again, this time side by side on your bed.
Well...
Today was a lot, huh? Asked Cove. Yeah, it was. You leaned against him, resting the side of your head onto his shoulder. You glanced up at his face. Cove watched you affectionately. In that gaze, you finally felt like anything was going to be okay. No matter what happens, we can make it work, I exclaimed. His mouth pulled into a bent smile at that. You chuckled, resting your head comfortably back on his shoulders.
Me too.
I think so too, says Cove. He couldn't sit still anymore. Cove leaned in, delicately pressing his lips to your forehead to kiss you once again. He raised one free hand to lightly touch your jaw. Despite having just intillated, God, I can't pronounce that word. That word, won yourself. I don't know that word. I can't pronounce it. Sorry. Breath caught your throat at being touched that way. When you remembered to breathe, blood rushed to your face, turning your skin deep red. You tried not to think about how hot you were feeling, because after everything that happened today, you were just grateful for the moment. And for a while you stayed like that. A comfortable quiet fell between you, and the sun fell with it. Our warming calm ended when Cove gasped sharply. You spun half expectantly to find him nursing an injury, but instead found him staring straight ahead. What? I asked.
Oh my god.
I think my phone just vibrated, says Cove. Well, you better find out if it did, sis, I exclaimed. Right, says Cove. He patted his pockets, fuming in his panic. He yanked the phone out. The force of the action nearly catapulted the device out of his grip entirely, but he caught it just in time. His eyes hunted on his screen. On the screen. It's Terry, thank God. She says she's sorry. Says Cove. He looked back at you, eyes wide as his nerves started to fray once more. What should I say? Cove asked. Tell her to call us. Okay, says Cove. He flashed you a shanky smile as he began to type. You suspected that he'd had some mirror thoughts himself, but wanted reassurance of a second opinion. Cove's phone buzzed nearly as soon as the message was sent. Ah, it's Terry again. She's talking to us, says Cove. She asked about what Miranda said, but wait. You leaned in and watching the conversation unfold on Cove's screen.
Right.
She's gonna actually call, says Cove. Cove held his breath as you waited. Though he was good with people, he'd never been at ease managing conflict. His phone rang out. Cove jammed the answer button. He switched the phone into speaker mode, allowing you to participate in the conversation. But despite his intimate reaction, his voice lacked the same resolve when he spoke. Hey, says Cove. It was tentative, a white flag fluttering in the wind. Chippy is here too, says Cove. Hi, Terry, I exclaimed.
Hey.
Hey, buddies, says Terry. Get some water. Terry's voice barely recognizable, without her usual quick patter and energy.
Are you okay?
Are things okay? Asked Cove. I don't know. Probably not, says Terry. Cove tensed, his face hand quelling into an anxious fist. Can you talk to us about what happened? Asked Cove. Don't you know already? Asked Terry. Miranda explains some of it, but it doesn't make sense to us, says Cove. You heard Terry sigh over the phone as she unburdened herself. Pretty much, I was at Randy's house. We decided to watch some movies. She super liked what I'd never seen before, says Terry. Turns out there's a lot of those. We watched one and then another. Another. We were having so much fun. Each time we finished, she had another one to share with me, says Terry. I didn't really think about the time. I only wanted to say yes to Randy and watch her movies, says Terry. She spoke wistfully, but her words were full of affection. It was Randy, you know. I was thinking about my schedule or what time it was, says Terry. Totally, I exclaimed. Then I finally saw the time, and oh no, it was way too late. I already knew I couldn't stay, says Terry. She took a deep breath, her voice becoming softer when she resumed talking. I was so stressed out, I just couldn't deal with it. Miranda wanted to help. She kept coming up with ways to make it better and trying to figure out why I was so upset and stuff, says Terry. I was trying to answer her questions, and there were so many, but I couldn't really answer all of them. I didn't even know why some of her ideals didn't work with me, says Terry. It made my head ache. I still had the first problem with Randy there, trying to help, blasting all these questions and suggestions at me faster than I could even think, says Terry. She gulped audibly, sniffing. I got frustrated and told her just to leave me alone, but then she wanted to talk about why I wanted that, and we started having a fight in the kitchen. It woke up Randy's dad up. We told him about how I wanted to go home, but my parents couldn't get me, so Mr. Ickrit offered to do it, says Terry. Problem solved, I asked. No, I mean, yes, kind of, but I accepted because I definitely couldn't stay then. Not after throwing a racket and turning it into a big deal, says Terry. But I feel awful and embarrassed. Why did I yell at Randy and hurt her feelings? And I made her dad lose sleep by waking him up and having to drive me home. What do you say after that? I have no idea. I don't know where to start. And I don't want to make it worse by saying the wrong thing and fighting you. So I'm not talking, says Terry. Terry, Randy isn't mad at you. You didn't want to stay or that you fought. She just wants to feel like you can talk to her, says Cove. I mean, you can say whatever you want. She'll listen. Not talking to her at all is pretty much the only wrong way to go about it, says Grove. Terry laminated mournfully on the other end of the line. But he had a point. Unless she faced Miranda again, there would be no resolution. You looked at Cove, hunched over the phone, staring pensively into it and searching for a solution. This couldn't be solved with the other key party missing. But what if you fought them in? But when you brought them in, your phone was still free. You suggested calling up Miranda now. I've got an idea. What if we called Miranda on my phone? Cove and I could make sure your conversation didn't fall off the rails, I exclaimed. Cove brightened up. The concerned furrow in his brow, which had taken root when Miranda first called, eased.
Well,
that could work. Terry, are you up for it? Asked Cove. She made a noise that wasn't a word, but nevertheless conveyed her hesitation and worry. But she brought it to a close with a decisive exhalation, as if pushing all negative thoughts from her body. Alright, I'll do it, says Terry. Cove nodded. Now, you received approval from everyone. You pulled out your phone and called Miranda. You set it to speaker and waited for her to pick up. Luckily, she did.
Hi.
Hi, Chippy, says Miranda. Her voice was still distant, as if her thoughts were elsewhere, but it was loud enough for your needs. Hi, you're on speaker. Terry is on speaker too. On Cove's phone, I exclaimed. Oh, said Miranda. She paused while she digested this information. You watched the phone screen, hoping that she wouldn't hang up as a result.
Really?
Oh, really? Asked Miranda. Yep, it's really me. Can you hear my voice all the way from your house to theirs, and then mine? Asked Terry. I can, says Miranda. You and Cove exchanged looks, waiting for the wall between them to break, and wondering who would be the one to do it. As quiet dragged on, you caught Cove chewing his cheek. He must had weighed up on the same question as you, whether to encourage the conversation along or leave Miranda and Terry to resolve it themselves. Their answer came from form of one sniff, followed by another from Cove's phone.
Sorry.
Sorry, Randy. I hope you still like me, says Terry. What? You are the one acting as if you don't like me, says Miranda. Her tone was defensive, no doubt a result of her wounds from last night still being raw.
What?
What?
No way. Everyone likes Randy, says Terry. You're wonderful, says Terry. Your eyes met Cove's. His phone was tilted towards you, capturing the call indirectly. You moved your phone closer to his, hoping that the signal was strong enough to convey every nuisance of tone. Cove did likewise, bringing his cell right next to yours, even bumping against it as he shifted his grip. I didn't know what to say. That's the only reason I wouldn't talk to you. If I had known the answer, I'd told you right away, says Terry. Miranda mumbled on the other end of the line. You didn't want to stay. Anything I tried to do bothered you, and you couldn't have told me you didn't know, says Miranda. Yeah, I think I was angry at myself. I did a dumb thing, and I didn't want to help with it. I wanted to be mad and just deal with it myself. It just made me keep doing dumb things. Oh, says Miranda. When she spoke again, her voice was quiet, as tender and vulnerable as the words.
I'm sorry.
Staying up late watching stuff was all my fault. I had to find a way to fix it. That's what I thought anyway. But I should have given you space. I'm sorry for being so pushy and sensitive, says Miranda. Hardly, Miranda echoed. Having a flaw? Ever heard of such a I've ever heard of such a craziest thing, says Terry. Miranda let out a ghost of a giggle. Cove cleared his throat. Maybe you should call each other now, asked Cove.
Sure.
Can do. Thanks for giving me a kick in the butt to do this already. Mandy, I'm gonna call you right now. Bye, Chippy and Cove, says Terry. She hung up after squeezing in another quick bye. She thought giving you I missed something? Okay. She hung up after squeezing in another quick bye, though not giving you or Cove room to respond in kind. Miranda laughed, and the noise tinkling gently like wind chimes in summer breeze.
You're really nice.
Thank you for listening and helping. I'm gonna hang up now so I can answer Terry's call, says Miranda. Bye, says Miranda. Bye, and good luck, says Cove. Bye. You got this, sis, I exclaimed. Miranda hung up, still chuckling softly as your call ended. The room felt emptier without the other voices in it. Cove expelled a sigh that crushed through the newly falling silence. He dropped his arms to his side, letting his head hang down like a puppet at rest. Thank God, says Cove. I'm relieved it's okay. Cove scratched his face, his expression cloudy. I think I need to find better ways for dealing with conflict, because that was awful, says Cove. I think you did okay, given the circumstances. Cove meekly smiled as he rubbed his eyes. Gorillas creeping over him and mumbled his next words. We can talk about it another day, says Cove. Conflict resolution methods, I ask.
Huh?
Oh no, forget it, says Cove. Your eyebrows rose and then a light bulb went off in your head. Before Miranda called, didn't you say there was something you wanted to say? I asked. Cove's original visit had been thrown off kilter. That was a struggle to win your memory back to when he first turned up. No, you did, though. You remembered that he had been perky when he arrived this afternoon. Was it good news? I asked. Cove brushed his hands again with his new folded arms shyly. Well, yeah, maybe. I'm not exactly sure it counts as news, or even good. It just is what it is. I'm happy about it, though, says Cove. Come on, no more hints. You're gonna tell me now, I exclaimed. Cove chuckled awkwardly. A hand creeping up to ruffle the hair on the back of his head. It's fine. If you want to hear, I can tell you, says Cove. He shifted his feet as if a different posture might give him the support he needed for the conversation. I didn't want to make a big deal, but kind of. Well, not kind of. I just know what my sexuality is now, says Cove. Oh? I asked. A real subject change, huh? Asked Cove. He chuckled. True, it was unexpected, but you were excited that Cove had come to understand himself more. You understand himself more, and glad he wanted to share that with you. Ah, that's great. Tell me, I exclaimed. Cove drew a breath, straightening up. I'm demisexual, so most of the time I don't really have those kinds of feelings, physical wants and stuff, says Cove. It's only in some situations when I'm already really emotionally and romantically connected to someone that I start to ever think about anything sexual, and it's only with them, says Cove. I hadn't heard the term until pretty recently, and it just made a lot of sense once I knew what it meant. I had a word that fit how I felt, said Cove.
Yeah.
And I'm romantic, because I never had a preference for a specific gender or anything. So yeah, says Cove. That makes sense, I exclaimed. Cove looked down at the floor, being so open and direct about a matter that personal, which you were sure he'd spent a long time trying to figure out, seemed to be kind of weird for him. Despite that, there was a small, proud smile on his face, and when he looked up again, his gaze was steadfast. I'm gonna go with the second one. So, does this mean you're thinking sexual things about me? I asked. Cove flushed and frowned equally hard at the statement. He struggled to get out a response. Yeah, says Cove. What kind of thoughts? I asked. Chippy, you don't need to ask that, says Cove. You weren't sure that was true, but couldn't help chuckling at how bashful he was. And no matter what, you wouldn't be getting more explicit response than that right now. Excuse me. The topic was dropped. All this talk of Co's sexuality made you reflect about your own. Your feelings on yours hadn't wavered. Yeah, I knew I was a boy and now becoming a man, and I knew I was gay, so sticking with that. Since that's who I am in real life, of course. And that's what I chose my character to be. So yeah. Cove had known for years now. It was heartwarming that he had reached a point where he felt similarly capable of discussing his own. You felt even closer. You felt his tiredness deep in the marrow of your bones. It had been a trying day. Now everything was neatly wrapped up for today, at least, and you had earned a rest. You had some good talks and come out of it not only knowing each other better, but yourself too.
Hey!
Harry, we should probably head downstairs soon if our moms are still waiting everyone to get together, asked Cove. Yeah, that's right, I exclaimed. With a renewed spring in your step, you led the way out of your room. You got downstairs to find the others already assembled and waiting.
Hi.
Hello, says Liz. Hey, says Mom. Good to see you both, says Mom.
Hey!
Hi. Here we are. Here we were trying to corral everyone into a group, but the two of you were already upstairs this whole time, says Mr. Holden. Of course, we're together. You paid Chippy to stick with me, or did you forget? Asked Cove. The statement was meaningless to your family, who looked to each other over the answers in vain. Miss Holden, who got the message loud and clear, seemed embarrassed. He chuckled nervously, rubbing the back of his neck. Ouch, son. You always know when to remind me of that one, says Mr. Holden. Uh-huh. I can't let you live it down yet, says Cove. Can we hear exactly what this secret is? Asked Mom. The suspense is killing us, says Mom.
Right.
Alright. I better get everyone up to speed, says Mr. Holden. He held up his hands, palms out, pacifying his audience, or perhaps holding them up to his shield in advance. The first day I met Chippy, I'd been worrying about Cove being alone for the summer, says Mr. Holden.
Well.
There weren't a lot of kids around, and he wasn't exactly on the best of terms with me at that time, Mr. Holden says. He glanced around your family, gouging their response. I felt this was my one shot, so I kind of offered him $20 to be friends with Cove, and added that he couldn't tell him about it, says Mr. Holden. Liz gasped. Mom was staring incredulously at Mr. Holden, while Mom's eyebrows had re-rated her hairline. You and Cove, already knowing the story, were the only ones unaffected. But after a while, I really did honestly forget it even happened, says Mr. Holden. He raised his hands higher, now level with his shoulders. Not a bad idea, you thought. If Mom felt inclined to throw caution at him, he'd probably manage to block it in time. I know it's bad, but I've had so many grand ideas over the years, it's hard to keep track of them all, says Mr. Holden. Cove smiled, placing his hands on his hips and shaking his head at his father's antics.
Seriously?
I can't believe you, though. Also, I totally can, says Cove. Your moms were less indulgent. The shock had emoed away to displeasure. Mom's foot was tapping rapidly as she frowned at the next door neighbor, while Ma had her arms crossed over her chest and her lips pursed. I'm sorry, Chippy, and I'm sorry to your parents too. That was way out of bounds, says Mr. Holden. Don't worry about it. Everything worked out, I exclaimed. Your moms gave each other that look where they seemed to communicate with eyes alone. Alright, well, that's that then, and it won't happen again, says Mom, with a little bit of an upset look, pretty much. Like, you never do that again.
Absolutely.
It definitely won't, says Mr. Holden.
Alright.
Good. Glad to hear it, says Mom. It was little surprising that they were letting him off the hook, but on the other hand, it was long time ago now, and you were sure your moms remembered those painful early days of Cove's arrival too. Mr. Holden wasn't a potential bad influence anymore, so a lecture would be probably moot. Instead, your ma gave him a lenient smile.
In that case?
Now that's settled. Why don't we find something to do? Asked Ma. Nods of agreement cascaded through the group in a couple of ways at the suggestion. Mr. Holden's shoulders slumped with a release of tension. He brought his hands down, tucked them away into his pockets. How about cards? Asked Liz. There's a murmur of interest from the others. Okay. You're keen to play. It was very nearly, but not quite unanimous. Mr. Holden dimmered.
Nah.
I think I'll sit this one out, says Mr. Holden. There's a fun in that. Join in. We're not too angry with you, says Mom. Yes, and I know there's a lot of people, but we can make it work, says Mom. Mr. Holden shrunk it onto himself, embarrassed by their attention. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. Dad, you love playing cards. We do it at our house all the time, says Cove. Dad, asks Cove. This room broke under a combined force of everyone's attention. Cove, you're an adult now. You deserve to know the truth, says Mr. Holden. I used to throw the card games so you could win, says Mr. Holden. I put up a good fight, but always made sure to lose a lot more rounds than I won, says Mr. Holden. He toyed with the end of his ponytail, clearly distressed at the second great secret he was revealing today. I know people want to be taken seriously and fake wins don't mean as much, but I couldn't help myself, says Mr. Holden. It's so much better than everyone else got the chance to be victorious. Kara knew and went along with it, says Mr. Holden. Cove laughed in disbelief that this was the thing his dad stressed about hiding after the other stunts he pulled over the years. So what? Lots of parents do that. I haven't guessed it. Sure. Though looking back at it makes sense, says Cove. That's right. That's, what's the big deal, Cliff? Can you finally take the kid gloves off and give them a run for their money? Says Mom. Maybe even actual money in your case, says Liz. Mr. Holden smiled quietly, his gaze lowering. I'm not sure that's a good idea, says Mr. Holden.
Why?
Why not? Asked Liz. He waved his hands expansively, the movements fluid and vague. It's just actually I'm something of a card shark. I used to make lots of fast cash off games. Casual players don't have a shot unless it's a game of pure luck, says Mr. Holden. Cove's jaw hung open, his wide eyes fixed on his father. Really? Asked Cove. There was a touch of amazement, even more Mare's admiration nestled along the shock. The other members of the Prince family exchanged looks, ranging from Liz's disbelief to Mom's intrigue, with Ma somewhere in the middle between the two. You can't simply make a claim like that and expect us to go along with it. Let's see you back it up, Shark Man, says Liz. Miss Holden gave her a crooked smile. His demureness quickly being displaced with confidence of someone very skilled or very misguided. You sure about that? Says Mr. Holden. Asks Mr. Holden. Definitely, says Mom. We've got to see this so-called non-casual player in action, says Mom. Well, I might be able, though, who knows? Maybe I've gotten rusty, says Mr. Holden. His coyness continued to reel the gang up. He was getting a kick out of it now.
Please.
Come on. Please, asked Cove.
Alright.
Alright. I can dust off the old tricks, says Mr. Holden. Don't go easy on us, I exclaimed. Cove beamed at his father while Mom clapped Mr. Holden on the back. Liz darted off to get a deck of cards while the rest of you settled in for the game. Hands were dealt. Mr. Holden wasted no time proving his words true, wiping the floor with you all. You played several rounds, even switching games, but none of you were a match for him. That was how the alliance came to be forged. The rest of you joined forces against Mr. Holden, only just to try increasing the odds of beating him. With your combined efforts, you pulled out a few victories, yet it was still a challenge. He was clearly a professional. If these tricks were his skills, now rusty with disguise, you couldn't even imagine what a deeply opponent he had been in the past. Despite that, you still had fun. Working cooperatively actually fostered a sense of camaraderie with the others. Mr. Holden didn't appear fazed by this strategy. You actually wondered whether the increased challenge made it more interesting for him. You spent the rest of the afternoon together with your family and the Holdens, having fun. It was an interesting evening for sure, with many discoveries for everyone. It was freeing, and yet simultaneously you felt more tied together than you had been before. that's it for talks. Our next moment will be drive. So let me fix the cord here. Once again, thank you for watching on my YouTube channel, and don't forget to click the like button and click that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Also, want to encourage you to, if you can, go to my Patreon and become a Patreon contributor. I'd really appreciate it, because I'd really like to have some kind of money going towards a worthy charity. I'd really like to have that, because like I said, I don't see a penny of the money. It goes directly to charity. I don't see any of it. And the offer is still good for the VIP $25 VIP contributor. If you want to become a VIP contributor, you will get a free sticker or a free pin, button pin, whatever you want to call it, with a picture of me in fursuit. It says, it should say, thank you for becoming a VIP contributor. But that offer is only good until April 8th. After April 8th, it will be no longer good anymore. You won't be able to get anything, unfortunately. So that, if you want to get on that deal, you need to get on it right now, because you have only till April 8th, and after that, the deal is gone. So thanks again, and I will see you guys later.